The Treaty of Ófalu was a peace treaty signed by the Kingdom of Poland and the Kingdom of Hungary in 1474. Background: in 1423–24 the Hungarian-Polish relations were characterized relatively good, though in 1429–30 Sigismund made efforts to alienate Vladislav II Jagiello, King of Poland and Lithuanian Grand Duke Vytautas. But after the death of Vytautas, the ground of collision vanished. In May 1438 the situation changed when the Czech estates elected Albert King of Bohemia, while the Utraquists voted for the subsequent Polish King Casimir IV of Poland. In July a war broke out between King Albert and Polish King Vladislav III of Poland that lasted until the 4th of January 1439, when a truce put an end to it in Breslau. After the death of Albert I, Vladislav III was crowned Hungarian king under the name of Vladislav and controlled both countries in a personal union. After his death, the nobility of both countries had different issues to deal with, thus the Hungarian-Polish relationship can be characterized as neutral. After the death of King Ladislas IV, Casimir, King of Poland, also claimed the Hungarian throne, which brought him to turn against King Matthias. This time Casimir took no steps and waited for a better opportunity, like the one that came in 1471. Premise: in 1453, during the Hungarian-Czech War, the situation radically changed. Matthias wanted to create a Polish-Austrian-Hungarian coalition, and was up to pledge it with marital relationships. His emissary to Krakow, the Bishop of Olomouc, however, did not succeed in putting this idea to reality. The Polish envoys in Olomouc, in turn, who tried to mediate between the Czechs and the Hungarians, were ordered to the Pope, the Emperor. In 1469 the Czech Catholic estates elected Matthias the King of Bohemia, and he proposed to the daughter of Casimir, but the Polish king refused it. He did so because George of Poder promised the Bohemian crown to his son Vladislav in exchange for a Polish military aid against Matthias. So Casimir approached Emperor Frederick to create an alliance against the Hungarian king. The negotiations were discontinued from October, because Frederick was not willing to give up the title King of Hungary, which he was granted in the peace treaty of Wiener Neustadt in 1463, and denied to ultimately cede it to Ladislaus. In 1471 there was an unexpected turn. George of Poder died on the 22nd of March 1471, and in the Diet of Kuttenberg the Utraquist majority elected Vladislav King of Bohemia. Matthias, of course, declared this election illegitimate. Meanwhile Casimir IV of Poland was invited to Hungary and was supported by the rebelling Hungarian nobles and religious leaders headed by Janus, Pannonius, John Vites and Emeric Zapolia. Casimir IV stepped in and sent his son Casimir as a pretender to the Hungarian throne. They declared war on the 20th of September. Polish troops entered the country on the 2nd of October and occupied the forts at Humane and Mikołowska. Prince Casimir was promised a Hungarian reinforcement as the nobles were to join him after crossing the border. He led his army of 12,000 men towards Kassa, where he was about to take the city without resistance. Meanwhile, Matthias was able to settle his dispute with the rebelling factions and convince them to take his side. The parties agreed and ceded Zapolia along with Nicolaus Ciupa de Monoslo, who stopped the approaching Polish invasion from attempting to besiege Kassa by taking the city before him and fortifying themselves in. The prince turned to Nitra instead and occupied it. Matthias arrived there to liberate the city with his army of 16,000 mercenaries and banderillas. For this point on, the events are unclear. What is sure is that Casimir retreated with an escort cavalry and the rest of the Polish main forces were released shortly after. Contemporary historians' presentations differ on the causes of the outcome. Italian historian Antonio Bonfini, commissioned by Matthias, refers to it as being a siege, which resulted in heavy loss for the besieged due to famine for the first wave. He states that the second wave of Poles was slaughtered by peasants and citizens while marching home, while the prince fled days before, after meeting Matthias, and had been spared by him. Hungarian Johannes de Thurach agrees, while adding that a counterattack followed the events where Hungarians attacked the counties of Zemplén and Saros, still under Polish possession, and drove them out and intruded into Poland as well for prowling, while Polish historian Jan Długosz argues that the incursion happened upon invitation and that no state of war came into existence. He recalls the nobility's actions as betrayal and Casimir's steps as aid as some sort of help for the Counts of Hungary. He also questions the circumstances of the retreat, claiming it was a peaceful return after Casimir IV met with the Pope Sixtus IV's emissary in Krakow, who intervened and urged the maintenance of peace. Pope Sixtus IV continued to support Matthias instead of Vladislav. On the 1st of March 1472, he acknowledged his Czech kingdom and sent Cardinal Marco Barbo to negotiate between Matthias and the House of Jagiellon and authorize him to excommunicate the Jagiellos in case they'd resisted. Ongoing from the 31st of March, the negotiations ended in a truce on the 8th of May and restarted on the 20th of October in Nice. This meeting ended without success, similarly to the 15th of August 1473 Troppau meeting, because Matthias was not willing to give up the occupied territories in Bohemia. The negotiations are now crowned with success. Matthias denounced his conquests in Galicia and concluded a 3-year peace regarding the feud over the Kingdom of Bohemia. The parties confirmed the Treaty of Lubola as well, which was as follows: the towns of Sipesbela, Barand, Felka, Iglo, Liebig, Matiok, Menhard, Poprad, Ruskin, Sipesalazi, Sipesombat, Sipesvaral, Esed Traja, in the forts of Gne Acute Zda. Podlan and Lubola remained pawn to Poland, though their integrity within Hungary was maintained, thus freeing themselves of many Polish taxes. Aftermath. After a month, the war resumed in March 1474, when Frederick III and Vladislaus, the Czech king, formed an alliance against Matthias. This alliance was also joined by the Poles, although it was only a month after the peace treaty signed in Ófalu. The conflict rolled into military events taking place in Silesia in autumn 1474. Matthias transported the Black Army led by Melchior to the strengthened fortresses and towns away from the Czech-Polish troops, and his mercenaries harassed the enemy. The Hungarian king, joined by Duke Jan II the Mad, went to Boroslo and declared his engagement to Beatrice during the siege of the town. The Czech-Polish forces took a lot of captives, but because the siege was unprepared, they were in lack of food and asked for a truce from the defenders. It is a very unlikely event in military history. The mortgaged towns were regained in November 5, 1772 during the First Partition of Poland.